Welcome to the Gavin's Voice podcast. Our special little boy Gavin has inspired us to support other families and caregivers living similar lives. We are so happy you're here with us today. Don't forget to subscribe to the Gavin's Voice podcast.
Welcome back to the Gavin's Voice studio. We're here for episode number 4 of the Gavin's Voice podcast. Very exciting. Our last episode, which was much about OPWDD and everything involved with getting in the door and getting set up and all that kind of goes on. And it's interesting, you had an interaction this week with a mom in New York State who has had her struggles, with the system. And I will say this, a lot of what we have experienced has been not necessarily easy, but pretty pleasant. It's fallen into place pretty well for us, and that's not always the case. Yeah. Tell everybody it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. Sometimes this takes a while, and unfortunately it wasn't necessarily in response to what we were doing, but just sort of popped up to us. Mm-hmm. You encountered a mom who's got a little bit of a different story, which is fine as well. It's important to talk about.
Well, a friend of mine has been kind of following along and has sent people my way to kind of give them some support. And she was on Facebook and kind of was scrolling along and came across this mother that's been struggling in the system, trying just to get services to start for 2 years. Wow. And she's frustrated and she's exhausted, but she's still plugging. Yep. And so I don't know her at all, never met her before, but I reached out to her and she was very happy to say that she thinks she has things figured out. So I'm hoping that we can include her on the podcast. It sounded like she was interested in, because she really just wants to get the word out that the system is kind of broken. All the stuff that we talked about yesterday, it is true and it does happen. And if I were to look at the percentage of people that are successful to the ones that aren't, I would hope there's more success stories than not. But how would I really know that? Right. And OPWDD is not going to tell me that. And I don't expect them to either. We're all doing a lot of work for a lot of people. Sure. So it's going to happen. And I feel horrible for the people that it happens to. But, we will share that side of the story or that side of the coin with everybody, hopefully at one point, because I think it's important. And maybe we will learn from her to help others down the road. And as to what she thought was the broken pieces and what she found to be able to get through it.
This, all these processes, not just what we're talking about here, but all the processes we go through, it's about continuing presswer, making sure you're documenting everything, following procedures best you can to try to get it through once, right?
I was impressed.
But then you're dealing with things like, care coordinators. We've had a number with Gavin. Luckily, we've been locked in for a while. We'll knock on a little bit of wood here. We've been locked in for a while, which is great. But every time there's a change, things fall through the cracks. They get pushed to someone else's desk. Other things happen. So it's almost like a perfect storm sometimes. But, we want to hear all of this. We want to hear the good, the bad, and that's how we get better, and is through a voice like this. Mm-hmm. So I'm glad you found that. I'm excited that she's hopefully willing to join us and talk about this. I think it's very important.
Yeah, she asked me to share.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic, and that's really what we're looking to do here. It can't always be great, fun stories. Sometimes we have to learn from a little bit of pain. So so we'll be looking forward to that. But today, we're going to talk in depth about the self-direction program in New York State. And it's something that we're very, very high on, something we utilize literally every day, 7 days a week, almost 24 hours a day, it seems.
No. Not 24 hours a day.
It's not, but we do utilize it quite often, and it's a fantastic service for the residents of New York State who qualify. And, you're the expert on self-direction, at least in the room. Give us the rundown. Tell us about it.
So, what is self-direction? You hear me talk about it quite a bit, even probably before the podcast started, especially family members and friends. Self-direction is it's like a service delivery model that's through OPWDD that empowers people to with developmental disabilities to have greater control over their supports and services. So this allows them, I'm really being careful, and I corrected David earlier, we want to make sure that we don't categorize anybody as anything because we are all people. Okay, so if I say individuals, I apologize, but it's sometimes something that I often say, but they're my friends. I love them all like they're family. But it allows people to customize their services to meet their unique needs and goals. They get to choose who provides their support, how the support is delivered, and the choice of what organizations that they would like to provide them. At any time during any of these processes or any of this, you can fire anybody you want. So, no matter who you have, you can, in your team, if it's not working, you can ask for somebody else.
Yeah.
Again, it's a restart. It's like going to a counselor and having to start all over again and having to go through your whole story again. But if it's not working, it's all about choice and what feels good to you and and your team.
I mean, self-directed. I mean, that sums it all up right there. It really is with your circle of support, which you'll hear about. It's about finding the right fit. It's finding the right fit of the people to help support you and build this and maintain this. It's all the people outside of your immediate circle that help you with them and keep that whole. And it goes right up down the line. And if there's something that isn't working, it's up to you. And that's fantastic. That's what we want for our friends, is to be able to choose what works for them and proceed and go down those paths.
You can choose, and I hate to say it, but it's true. You can choose who's at your meetings. If you don't like Dad and you're upset with Dad, you don't have to invite Dad. I know that's hard to hear, and it would be hard for me if my son didn't want me at his meeting. But maybe things aren't good this week.
Sure.
And, Gavin's afraid I'm going to say something that's going to affect his livelihood, So you get to choose with everything. But the one thing that I didn't even put into our notes is another thing that's so important, just like I kind of went a little crazy yesterday or however many days it is since you've seen the last episode about money does not run it. I'm going to also tell you that family, you, the person receiving the services, or your guardians, or your natural supports, are the most important people to the team.
Yeah.
You have these other people in your corner that you'll learn about to help you, but that doesn't mean you are capable of finding classes. You're capable of finding memberships you want to try. You're capable of finding staff. We are here to support you and guide you and sit in an interview with you if you so choose. But you are the leaders of your team.
Yep.
And without you, we can't do this. So people can get frustrated and feel like, I haven't heard from you in 6 months. In the position that I am, a broker, which you'll hear about more soon, I don't have to call you ever. I'm literally twice a year if I really want to. That's all I have to do. I do a lot more than that.
Yeah.
But, people can get frustrated that they haven't heard from me. I'm here when you need me. You just have to reach out.
That's the other side of self-direction. It's not just, here, go do whatever you want to do. There's responsibilities. There's
you're the primary team member. Yeah, you're the head, and you're supposed to run it.
And staff is always the big one, right? And that's what you'll learn. And you can do a lot. I mean, you've helped, I know, people advertise for positions on different places and interview people and things like that.
Yep.
But in the end, it really is to those natural,
it's about those natural
supports that you have. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. So let's dive into this a little bit. So, it's not a school-based program or anything like that, but the idea of this is different supports and opportunities, and give us kind of some of the background on what we're looking at. What is it? What is this going to allow us to do?
Well, you can have these supports while you're in school,
right?
But it doesn't happen in school. So it's stuff that you're going to do outside of school, or once you've graduated. So it's help for people to live in a home within our community. It helps the families to support their family member to live at home with respite and other family support services. It helps people who want to work in the community. We help with employment training, volunteer opportunities, and other types of community engagement like classes and memberships. And also help for people who need intensive residential and day services. So that's kind of just a brush stroke on all the things that it does.
Now, self-direction isn't for everybody. Not everybody has it. Not everybody needs it, wants it. So, as we look at self-direction, what are some of the things that people really should consider when going down this path? What's it going to do, and the ramifications of it?
Well, if they want the flexibility of choosing who works with them, if they're ready to make decisions on their own with the help of their friends and family, some people can do that all on their own. And do you want to take responsibility for all of the things without being told what you have to do?
Yeah.
So it's very flexible. It's not like, you have this, so you have to go to this class every Monday. It's whatever you want. I mean, right now, Gavin is so busy in his life that he doesn't go to any classes.
Yeah.
Do we want to do that soon? Of course.
Yeah.
But, we're doing things that are working right now. But you can, it's to have the flexibility is really, self-direction allows you to have the flexibility in your life.
It's interesting. I mean, there's a full gamut of things you can put within this, and you'll learn that not only with what we'll talk about here on the podcast, but just as you dig into the system and see that, can I do this? Can I do this? Well, more times than not, there's a way to do most everything that you can think
Almost
of. There's
everything,
very few things that are out of it.
Yep.
All right, so now we've gone through the last podcast getting approved for services, and there's a multitude of them under OPWDD, this being one of them. So now as a group, as one of our friends, they have OPWDD approval for services. Interested in self-direction, they think it's for them. Now what?
Well, the first question would be, have you shown the need for the services? So OPWDD offers family support services reimbursement. They've called it a couple different things, but we call it FSS. And it's $3,000 a year. This is new, it wasn't this way when Gavin started, but if you can show the need by using almost all, if not all, of that $3,000 within a year's time, that will open up the door. Potentially, you may also need to show a need for community habilitation, which I didn't really note that, but I've heard different things. Again, rules are changing and things are getting strict. So if this is something, as you hear the rest of our podcast and say, oh my God, that's for me, get started, because I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, and we said this on the prior podcast, really, that it's harder to lose something you have than to not be eligible for it at all.
So far, it's been that way.
So far,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And that's just kind of going going off it. So
so use that 3,000, and then you then would and I'm sure your care manager would know that you're trying to do that, and then you would request from your care manager that you'd like self-direction. They will apply for that for you with whatever they need. It's an application, again, something I haven't seen. It's probably nothing difficult because you're already in the door. So what are the reasons why you need this? And I haven't seen it. I can probably obtain it, but I don't have it. And then you also must take a self-direction session. Without the session, you cannot be approved. We've had budgets, myself included, sent to the state, and they're like, I don't see the person's name on the list. And you're like, uh-oh, I didn't ask that question. Because typically the care manager should know that. But again, as we know, there's a lot for them to remember, and they might have missed it. So that's why there's all these extra sets of eyes along the way.
Well, this goes back to that point I was kind of making in the opening of making sure you've crossed every T and you've dotted every I, and you're keeping copies of everything.
And there's a list, too, somewhere.
There is a list.
There is, I've seen
online.
It.
So be your own advocate. I mean, right from the get-go. It's going to make the whole thing a lot easier. Okay, so now you've got OPWDD approval for services, right? You've shown or you have used the $3,000 we spoke about on any number of different things, right? You've requested the self-direction application from the care coordinator, right? And you've attended the class, which we used to call the front door. I'm not sure if they still do or not, but you've done that. Now it's probably time to start building your team. What's that comprised of?
So you need two things. You need a broker and an FI, which is a fiscal intermediary. They used to tell you to find the fiscal intermediary first, but a lot of them have wait lists. So I don't necessarily think that's the way to go. A broker, you can get a list from OPWDD. It will tell you who's available that is taking cases, or word of mouth, which I'm not available to take cases, but I get people at least once a week. So, I try not to take too many more, but, it happens. So you would call these people or email the broker, email or call the broker, and ask if they have availability. And then you could set up a time for an interview, whether it's a phone call or a Teams or telehealth, whatever you want to call it. You could do that.
Most of the brokers work independently.
Yes.
So they may have one, two, three, four different FIs or agencies,
or 6 like me,
or 6 like you, at their disposal. So honestly, picking a broker first makes a lot of sense because you also have your finger on the pulse of which FIs may be considering or maybe bringing on more people.
And they're, you know, one of my favorite FIs, there's one thing that they don't do that's on the list of things that you can get through the budget. And so it's kind of good for me to know what it is you're looking for. So I wouldn't direct you in that way. Once you want to get attached to a company that isn't doing one of the pieces, and it's a piece that we're not going to confuse you by explaining that to you, but it's just, you know, there's, you know, I can give you some input on who I think might be a good fit.
Yeah.
I can't, and you can't choose the person within the company, but you can choose the agency overall.
And we're not saying they're doing anything wrong.
No, I love them all. They're all great. Yeah, they all are trying to do the same stuff.
And they all interpret what OPWDD's rules
they're
are.
Working on
right?
that, but
and trying to standardize it. So some are a little different. You know? So that's what we're trying to say.
But there are waiting lists and things. So at this point, if you were to ask me today, I would have to, you know, I'd have to say, well, let me see who's taking people.
Yeah.
And they don't call them waiting list. It's usually just kind of first come, first serve, but it's going to take a couple weeks to get that to say yes. Yeah. So in order to get that piece going, you know, you sign an agreement with your broker, and once the FI has been chosen, you send that paperwork goes to the FI, they send it to the state for approval. Yeah. And once that comes back, then the fun starts.
Yeah. Well, let's step back just a little bit. You know, being a broker, you know, it's interesting because it's kind of an interview process that's a two-way street. You know, are you a great fit for, you know, a friend? Is the friend a great fit for you? You know, what are kind of some of the things that you like to talk about in that interview process, whether it's face-to-face or on the phone or email or whatever it is, that kind of says, hey, we're a good fit here both ways? You know, what would you be looking for both as a parent as well as a broker?
I don't personally get that nitty into it in the beginning, because you don't really get to know the people until after that original approval is done. Personally, but the brokers are all different. Some of them only want to take kids. Some of them are okay with taking adults that have a housing subsidy, because it's not hard. Nothing's hard that we do, but it's more involved. Sure. So some people don't want to do that, but kids turn into adults, and I've been doing it for 6 years, so I've seen the kid go from, you know, in school to having an apartment of their own. So I don't see why choosing really makes sense. In the beginning as a broker, yes, you should start with kids. Yeah. It's just to get used to it. But, you know, things evolve.
But there's some things to take into account, too, whether they want, if they prefer in-person meetings, or they want to do things digitally, or how they want to do it.
That's one of the things, you have to decide are you okay without doing in-person meetings? Are you okay with doing something on the computer? I have a family who would prefer to do in-person, but they'll come to me. And I don't want them to come to me, but my schedule's crazy. So sometimes, you know, they're new. It's brand new. They're, you know, we're going to have their launch meeting next week, actually. And I don't mind that at all. But if they really wanted me to come to the house, I will, you know, and it's good for me to go. I get to see, I used to love that. It was one of my favorite parts of the job, to be honest. I love to be able to come and go. But since COVID, we've all kind of changed. And since COVID, I've taken on more cases, and there's days I have 5 meetings. There's no way I can drive in between.
Yeah. There's a meeting lasts anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour and a half.
It could last longer. It just depends on what's going on. So, yeah, I mean, those are definitely some questions. But, you know, you have to feel it out, too. Sometimes things don't work. Like, you know, I'm not judging anybody, but sometimes personalities don't work. And that goes the same with me as your broker or as a staff member. When they're interviewing me, I'm kind of now that I've been doing it for long, I'm kind of interviewing them. Sure. Because like David's asking me, I don't have a specific, like, what would trigger me. I don't want this. Have I ever said I don't want a case after I already said I did? No, I would never do that. Sure. I may have to try to make a shift if I could, but I'm just not the type to walk away. Now, it happens. Brokers will just disappear. It happens. It's been known to happen many times. But personalities, if it works, it works. I'm a people person overall. I would have to say 95% of the people I support adore me. And there's probably a few that are kind of not too sure how they feel about me. But I'm here for them to help them. And I would never do anything to disrespect them. And I'm here to support them. But, it's all about, that's what self-direction is. Do you work well with this person?
Right.
And you can fire me at any point. You don't like how I am. I had one individual, very independent person, on his own, trying to find himself a broker.
Yeah.
I think he already had a broker.
Yeah.
I don't know. But he called me, and I spoke to him, and he wanted to hire me. And then he might have called me the next day, and I was in 4 meetings, and I couldn't call him back. He didn't want me anymore.
Yeah.
Did that hurt my feelings? Nope, because it wouldn't have worked.
Sure.
He is very, I don't want to say he was needy, but he wanted that interaction.
He required a little more help.
And it wasn't even the help. I think he just wanted to talk. Yeah. Some people are lonely, and I wish I was lonely sometimes. But
again, she's not accepting more friends. Not right now.
But I had how awesome was it that he advocated for himself? I was not going to fit for him. He wanted me to be able to pick up the phone. I'm not his care manager. Care managers should do that more often. I'm a broker. I don't have to pick up your call. If you really need me, you can text me. It's an important call. I need you to call me, or you can email me. Yeah. So, but that's a really good example of what self-direction is. You get to choose. Yeah. So if it doesn't work for me or you, then you make that decision. Yeah. And I love that he made it as soon as he did, because it could have been a nightmare for me.
Of course.
And I do respect that. So
we got our team in place. We've got an FI. We've got a broker. What are some of the considerations we want to make about lifestyle and things like that as we start thinking about budget?
Well, you want to find out, where they live, if they live independently, if they need supervision, if they have roommates, or if they just live with mom and dad. What do they do during the day? Do they sit and play video games? Do they work? Do they volunteer? Do they want to get out more? How do they stay healthy and active? Do they want to exercise? Can they exercise? Do they just want to go for walks? That's fine too. What's their relationship with their family? Do they talk to them? Do they not talk to dad anymore? Do they, they have friends that are advocates? I have a lovely man who actually has, I don't know how they had connected, but she worked for OPWDD, and now she's retired, and she's his community hab provider, and she's amazing. And I see her posting for staff for him all the time, so it helps me, but knows what she's doing. That advocate person can be part of your team, and she also works with him. But even when she didn't, she would come to his meetings. Yeah. And then you're going to choose who you're going to hire for respite or ComHab. Yep. And that's what self-direction is, and it's self-hire. So everything is what you want, what classes you want, who you want to work with you, where do you want to go, do you want to go to a program, do you want to play hockey, do you want to play basketball, what is it that you want to do?
So those are all kind of broad strokes. I mean, that's kind of a very generalization. What do they like? What are the interests, that sort of thing. So next would really be sitting down and having a budget meeting, and literally building the budget with the broker.
Yeah, for me, it's a lot of note taking, and then I'll kind of pull it together. It's not hard to do, but it's much easier to focus on the person and have a discussion, and then go back to it on your own, and then say, what do you think about this? And how about we meet one more time? We're supposed to have multiple meetings. This has changed over the years. It used to be a lot more detailed, and I always tell I'm going to start doing that more. But I also feel that race for what's happening in the world, and I also don't want to all of a sudden say, oh my God, we're in the middle of budget, and I can't give you a budget. So I guess I'm a little torn with all that, but we are supposed to spend more time building these budgets. It should be multiple meetings. But, I talk a lot, and I get a lot of information out pretty quickly. So usually, in a few meetings, we can get this pulled together. And depending on my caseload and my other stuff that I have to do, then I have to build the budget. And it also depends on your response time to my emails questions, because I do a lot by email. Yeah. But the first meeting that we will have, it's very important that your broker gets to know you. So what do you like and dislike? Who do you consider who would be your circle of support, your natural supports, your family, your parents, your friends? Are you in school? Are you out of school? What activities are you looking to do? Do you want to be enrolled in a day program? Are you looking for staff? Are you planning on moving out anytime soon? And if you did, what kind of living situation you're looking for? Would you have a roommate, live by yourself? Do you want to be in walkable distance to the store? Like, there's so many different things that could go into this whole process. Are you looking into going into college? Looking for a job? Do you have anybody supporting you for employment? And all of this should happen in a few meetings for me to be able to obtain, or not me, but your broker, to complete an accurate budget for you.
That's okay. You can say we're kind of living vicariously through your career and your experiences now. One thing we kind of we're sort of out of order on one thing is that we keep talking about the budget and the number, right? If you recall in our prior podcast, we talked about the DDP2 scores, and that's really what's going to lead us to a dollar amount. That's the biggest factor in coming up with a dollar amount. Not one size does not fit all. It's all going to be based upon that.
And if you're in school or not.
And if you're in school and things like that, it grows substantially once you're out of the school programs and living, in a different situation. So once the budget is completed and approved, right, it might not be at its final form, right? I mean, you'll have the number set. You generally do it in a very generic form, so then you can sort of nail down some specific things. That's kind of the way you work with that?
Well, yeah, and then it comes back, and you can change the budget at any time. So that, I think, is what you're asking me is at any point we can make a change. So that's kind of another reason why I don't stress too much in the beginning. If I mean, it's fairly accurate. The most you're gonna want to make changes is the things you're like, oh, I didn't hear you say I could use that because there's so many things, or we don't have enough money in this section. He goes to like 10 classes a week, those kind of things. I have those things, and then we just make a change. There's different types of changes that we don't need to talk about, but they're some are quicker than others. But but getting that initial budget back could be a little bit. It has picked up, and it has picked up, but I just had a housing subsidy sent in April, and it's not back yet. So, things do happen. Things get shuffled under somebody's pile of papers or emails or however they do it there at the district office, but things do get missed, and so sometimes we have to follow up and check. But
kind of getting back into this, I apologize, I kind of took it off there a little bit. So kind of considerations of people who you want to be working with you really is next in this, and it's huge. I mean, a big part of a lot of budgets that we see for our friends goes around community rehabilitation and the respite programs, right? And maybe you can kind of outline who's eligible to work with our friends and do things with them.
Yeah, so it can be anybody that you feel comfortable with. So I always tell people, the people that I support, I tell them it's their interview. But I also tell the people, the staff, the potential staff, it's their interview too. So you both have to be comfortable, because I don't want you to feel as a staff member to go into someone's house and be uncomfortable with the way they live, or maybe feel uncomfortable with the brother that's in the house, whatever it might be. This is not just an interview for the person. Even though they choose you, they want you, also, it's not going to work if you're not comfortable. Yeah. So, we all interview for jobs, and, we know the location. We're pretty confident of where we're going, but this is very different. You're going into people's homes. You could be in their cars. You could be, so you just have to make sure you're comfortable. And the person could be a smoker, and you could be allergic to it, and that might not work for you. They could have cats, and you could be allergic to that too. I couldn't do that. So it all is about an interview process for both sides, and I tell both sides that this is for both of you to be comfortable. It has to. My daughter just started a position recently, and I just told her, make sure you're comfortable. If you're okay with whatever, wherever they live, and you feel safe, then yes. But you also have to feel safe, because we're not doing background checks on the people we're going to, I'm sending, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to be a jerk, but we're not doing background checks on the person getting the services. So everybody needs to be comfortable. You have to feel it in yourself to know that it's a safe place to be and it's a good place to be. So, but you get to choose whoever that is. This could be friends, families. It could be an old teacher that you could ask, or we have Gavin's previous one-on-one aide. She doesn't work a lot, but she's on as a backup provider. Families and friends, if you go to church, somebody from your church community. So those are huge. That the staffing piece is going to be your big part if you choose to use it. I have parents who don't want to do that, and that's okay too.
Some of the other things we've seen too is even people running ads, whether it's on Facebook, in the Rochester area, our region, there's a self-direction page where people are either, they can post that they're looking for people. There's even people who are like, hey, I'm on board with this company and this company. I'm looking for some more hours, and that's been good. I'm disappointed by the lack of response I've heard from things like calling some of the local colleges. We've got a number of local
I agree.
colleges.
That's how we got our first person.
Yeah, a number of local colleges that have teacher programs, special education programs, early childhood development programs, music programs, speech, occupational therapy.
I tell people all the time, but they don't know. Not everybody has the wherewithal, I guess, to go. Where do I find on the website, right? I just did some digging on my own, but I wasn't even barely a broker yet, and we found our first person that way.
If it's a school-aged individual, don't be afraid to call the school. There's a lot of first and second year teachers with a bunch of student loans that might be looking for some work.
That's true.
Whether it's weekend time, after school time, or summer. We've had one of Gavin's occupational therapy teachers who did some time with us and did some at-home stuff.
Yes,
and it works out great. So look around. There's a lot of different opportunities for that.
And it starts with you, but your broker can help you find staff. It's one of the things on our list on our contract that we say. And your broker might not check that box.
Yeah.
All my boxes are checked on mine. I do anything you want me to do.
Yeah.
So I will help you find staff. Do I spend 1,000,000 hours on it? No, but I will place an ad. I may respond to a resume that was sent to me. I might try to connect. I'm working with one person right now who happens to be a male, and people want a male provider. So he's interviewing with like 10 different people right now. So, I do help with that. So your broker can help you, but remember, it starts with you. Yeah. And that's the big piece that people forget.
Let's talk maybe a little bit about activities. And I'm excited because some of our friends have been willing to share some photos and some videos, and we're going to put that in here as well, and maybe some stuff with Gavin as well. But some of the popular activities and things that we're seeing on the budgets right now.
Mm-hmm. Different classes, like music classes, art classes, social classes. Those can be a little touchy, but we can usually get some of them approved. Exercise classes, swimming, horseback riding, those kind of things. Memberships can get reimbursed. Some of the FIs will purchase them for you, and they'll come in the mail. That's
been great.
That's been helpful.
Yeah, what we're touching on is actually direct pay. A lot of this.
This is a reimbursement program.
Yeah, it's always been a reimbursement program, but what's happened now, there's a number of FIs that'll take care of it for you work directly with the zoo if it was in your situation it could be, or a museum, and pay directly. So it's not necessarily cash out of your pocket. The money comes out of your budget, but you don't need to lay it out, which is
those are the questions we talk about when we're building. What kind of things are you looking to do? Like swimming. We'll have some videos on that. But yeah, some of them, a lot of them are direct billing now. Yeah. So it's been good.
Some cancer opportunities, some things like that. It could be a sport, that kind of thing.
Challenger sports or regular sports, whatever you fit into.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's really kind of endless, and it's a lot of fun. I know Gavin enjoys. He enjoys going to the zoo. I think just to ride the train and get the ice cream.
The tram, right?
The tram, yeah, and get his ice cream, and he likes to go to the museum and ride the escalator or the elevator and do some other stuff.
We couldn't get him on the elevator at the Kirsch Center or whatever you call it, and now that's what he wants to do.
Now he's an old pro, so there's a lot of fun there. And again, it's really only limited by your budget, and the good part is your broker's going to work with you in depth to make sure you have money in the right place in the budget, so that if you want to be heavy on classes, a little bit later on respite, things like that can be done.
Whatever
if
works.
It never needs a move, it can move however you need it to, right?
Yep. So this kind of I kind of
this is really just kind of a wrap up,
yep.
But some more things that you may see on the budget.
Well, transportation reimbursement for your staff,
yep.
And for yourself. So if if you had purchased a class and a membership through the budget, there's a big chunk of money that can go into a line that reimburses you that travel.
Yep.
And that helps, again, for staff and for you as well, if it's something that's paid for by the budget.
Yeah, it wouldn't be, obviously, a school type thing or a doctor's visit.
Nope.
Things like that would not be covered under this. But if you could potentially have your respite provider or ComHat provider working with the individual, or with the friend, then it's good to go for it, right?
Yep.
There's the family reimbursed respite, which is really important in kind of a time of need, or sort of a flexible situation.
Well, when your staff is unavailable, or when you're in the process of hiring your staff and they're not onboarded yet with the agency, you can pay them, and that's $3,000 a year, and you can get reimbursed, and it's really flexible. You can choose what you're going to pay them as long as it's like above minimum wage. Let's just say that to make it easier. The person has to be over the age of 14. And they're just spending time keeping, the person safe. And you have things to do as a parent or a caregiver, and you can pay them out of pocket, and then you get reimbursed for that.
Yeah,
Yep.
a lot there. A couple nice little touches for the individuals over 18, especially if they may be living independently or semi-independently, would be phone and internet could potentially be covered. There's some things that need to make sure that they qualify under. Correct.
Well, like internet, it's, if you're living at home with your family, it's divided amongst the people in the home.
Yeah, so
but
it'd
you
be a
can get
portion
that
of the
reimbursed.
internet, reimbursed,
Yep.
that kind of thing. Staff activity fees. This is very important if you've got someone who's very active and going out in the community, wants to go to baseball games or whatever it might be, as part of respite or ComHab. Reimbursement for the expenses for them.
Or meals.
Or meals,
If they're
yeah.
going to eat together, but they had to be clocked in, and then they would get reimbursed for their meal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Personal use transportation, same thing if they're using their vehicles.
And what have we used? I mean, this is the glitch or not the glitch, but the place where I say different agencies do different things. But typically most agencies use personal use transportation to go anywhere, including a vacation.
Yes.
Ours we get to use in a different section, but we don't need to get into that. It's just how my agency works. But that may change. So personal use transportation for going to the grocery store, going to McDonald's every day, or, going on a vacation. And I mean, you can explain how we utilized our staff activity fees, our personal
as far
use
as the trips and stuff like that,
transportation, and what we did.
So we've Gavin's done a couple of trips now. We've done New York City. We did a trip with Gavin's respite provider. So we were able to offset some of the costs for hotels and food and some of the travel expenses.
But not for him.
But
only
not for
the
him.
staff.
Only for the staff. Yes. Sorry. Again, we went to Florida and we did a Disney trip. So same thing there. We did a trip this past February. We did a last minute trip. Drove down to Florida. Stayed in an Airbnb really just to get away. We didn't go to Disney. Didn't do anything like that. We went to the Space Center. That was really about all we did as far as typical Florida things.
We brought staff with us.
Yeah, but we brought staff with us, so they were able to not only get paid their hourly wage for respite providing with Gavin, but then we were able to offset some of the costs as well. So that was huge as far as their costs go, the respite provider.
Yeah, so we were able to get reimbursed for Gavin's travel, the staff's travel, the staff's meals, and the portion of the Airbnb towards the staff. So the only thing the person that actually has the services get reimbursed for is their travel. Not food, not hotels, not admission fees to anything. But the staff gets those reimbursed because they're doing it to provide the service and work with Gavin. So that's the one thing to keep in mind.
Yeah, and the caveat is have a conversation with your broker
Absolutely.
well before going.
Make sure there's enough money
before planning it.
where it
Make
needs
sure
to
the
be.
money is allotted appropriately. That you fully understand what will and will not be covered, so there's no surprises, during or after your vacation or your getaway or whatever.
And you can't get reimbursed till you get back.
Exactly. And that would be a kind of a fully reimbursable kind of a thing. Any other,
We mentioned you forgot clothing.
Oh, sorry, the clothing allowance as well.
You
Please.
get if over the age of 18, $250 towards clothing. It used to be mainly for job related clothing, but now it's for individuals over the age of 18 who might need a new pair of shoes or a winter coat or things like that. It's only $250. You keep the receipt. You circle your purchase. Only clothing and shoes, typically accessories, are not included. But that's that's something too. And then there's the housing subsidy goes through the budget. That's huge. That's a whole podcast for another day. And then if you're in a day program, that could go in or out of the budget depending on how many days a week you go.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's pretty it.
I mean, there's a lot here, and we covered up a lot here in 40 minutes or so of time.
Okay. What are you making?
I'm making French fries.
You're making French fries?
Yes,
You got a new tool there?
yes,
Is that the Pampered Chef mandolin?
yes.
Wow, you put the potato in, now what do?
And then you push.
Let me see. What? Wow, great job!
Yes, look at this. You made all these, beef.
Are you
Come
gonna
on.
eat them all?
Now we're gonna put them in oil, right?
In oil, yeah.
Good job. I don't even know where I was. I think I was on this. I should know. I have no idea. No, they.
We have a good idea of a budget. We have a good idea of what's included, what to be looking for, things like that. Really, your imagination as a team is what's important here, and what is important to the person you're working with as part of their circle of support. The FI and the broker are here to assist. They can't come up with all the answers, obviously, so you need to be prepared a little bit with what you want to do, some general ideas, and they can help point you in the right directions.
Yep.
From there. So we certainly hope that this brought self-direction into a little bit of a clearer light.
Maybe more confusing now.
I don't know if it's more confusing, but that's why we're here. We're not here to confuse you, but we're here to try to help out and open up some new ideas for you. Please, any questions, concerns, anything that didn't make sense, you'd like a little more clarity on, feel free to reach out. We'll do our very best to answer it. info@gavinsvoice.com is the best way to reach us on email. We're on Facebook. We are on TikTok. We're kind of all over the place, so look for Gavin's Voice on all those things. Please subscribe to our podcast. There's plenty more coming up. We're excited to have some guests, some live guests coming up. I think that'd be really good. And the next few podcasts, I promise, we're going to do our best to make it a little more fun. This was a lot of data. The last two podcasts, we've done a lot of information, but we think that's really, really important. It's very important in our lives. Obviously, it's very important for what Joreen does on a daily basis. And we think this is a big help to those that may not be aware of it or may not understand it. So that's why we've spent so much time on it. But we'll always touch on the self-direction thing. Joreen's also got a broker page that just kind of lists things as she sees them, as far as things that should pretty well be applicable most of the time.
Yeah, but not always on the budget.
Not always on the budget, but a lot of it could be on the budget.
Anything that relates to people with disabilities, pretty much.
Yeah, so that's cool. So look for that as well on Facebook. It's the Joreen Vereka Brokers page, I believe it is.
I think that's something like that. Yeah.
So take a look for that as well, and we'll put some links in here. I'll make sure that there's some links as well, so you can hit that stuff kind of quick. And again, please, any questions you have, any concerns, anything you'd like to know a little bit more about, any ideas for upcoming podcasts, we'd love to hear what you'd like to hear. We look forward to having you back again soon.
Yeah, thanks.
So on behalf of myself and Joreen, thank you so much. We appreciate you joining us, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.